Everybody here. All right, hold on one second. I'm going to click over so I can look at the comments. How do I do this so I can click over and look at YouTube? I know there's a way to go over to YouTube, right? Okay. Hello, everybody. So wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for joining me right now here on YouTube. And if you are new here and you haven't yet hung out with me here or checked out the channel, make sure you subscribe, because if you're a fan of the podcast, then every single week, I upload the podcast here on YouTube. So, hello, Kimberly. Hi, Chronic Dolls. Hi, Karen. Hi, Giselle. So nice to see you guys. I know a lot of you guys are actually some of my boot campers. So thank you so much for joining me here. And I actually have my phone with me. I realized I forgot to print out the workbook, but if you don't have it, I have it here in the chat, erikavieira.net/COVID. It's basically my 32-page ebook where I am just going over a lot of the questions and things that I'm getting in regards to creating content right now, right? We are in a very interesting time, right? Everybody's lives has changed. Everybody is experiencing something different, some type of disruption, right? And it's like, it's been a few weeks, right, in the middle of this whole pandemic, and the dust has kind of settled, even though there's a lot of uncertainty moving forward. Hopefully a lot of us are kind of acclimated to this new life of either working from home or maybe being, unfortunately, temporarily not working or having your kids at home, right? I'm sure it's been some adjustment, and it's kind of like, well, now what? Where does your YouTube channel fit into that? Right? And I know a lot of you guys here on this live, you are some of my students. So I've been talking a lot about this in the boot camp. A lot of you are my listeners of the podcast, and I've had a few episodes on the podcast about it. But honestly, it's an ever-changing thing. It's like this is constantly evolving, constantly changing. And those of you watching and listening are content creators. You're out there creating lighthearted, fun content for your followers. You're probably not one of those news people talking about what's happening right now. And so you're thinking, well, where do I fit into the puzzle? Where do I fit into all this? Should I be creating content? Should I take a break? Should I be business as usual? Do people even care anymore? I mean, like this right now or comment if those are some of the things that you're thinking. So I'm going to pull up the book because we're going to just kind of go through it. So if you have the ebook, here it is on the phone, and we can just go through it together. But I really want you to just comment and let me know what you're thinking and what your thoughts are. If you need the workbook, just go to erikavieira.net/COVID, and you can go ahead and also actually /2020 strategy here on the screen. And all right, so the first thing that I mentioned in the ebook is a lot of you watching this might be in a situation that maybe you haven't even started your channel yet, and you're wondering whether or not you should even start, right? Should you be starting on YouTube right now? Maybe you're kind of thinking about it, and now this whole thing happened, and you're like, should I do it? Should I not? So my answer to that is, and this always goes back, if you're one of my students or if you're listening to the podcast for a while, my philosophy on being on YouTube truly goes back to you as a creator having a certain level of self-awareness of where you are at right now in this situation. If you are in a feeling of a lot of anxiety, or you just feel really out of sorts, or your life is you just don't feel like you can get it together, then maybe right now is a time for you to take some time for yourself, to fill up that cup and fill up yourself and to nourish your mind, body, and spirit. being frazzled, anxious is never a time to start something new. And it's also never a time to, in my opinion, get onto YouTube. Because the reality is when you're on YouTube and you're creating content, you want to be the best version of yourself in that moment. Granted, we're all going through things right now. And having a YouTube channel, you might be able to use that as an outlet. Because when you're creating content, you might be so much in the flow, so aligned with what you're doing that you're not even thinking about anything else. And honestly, that's the goal for a lot of you. Even for me myself, as I'm doing these lives, if I'm creating content for my podcast, as I'm working with my boot campers, I'm not thinking about what's going on because I'm super aligned and I'm super in touch with what I'm doing in the moment, who I'm serving in the moment. And that can, and having your YouTube channel can be a wonderful escape, right? So that's something to actually consider. It's like, well, maybe this is a hobby, or maybe this is a side project that I've been wanting to do. I've been feeling like I've been wanting to jump into. And you know what? I need something to take my mind off of what's going on. I'm just going to dive head first into this project and I'm going to focus all my efforts on it. I'm not going to pay attention to news. I mean, there's a big difference between being aware of the news and being absorbed in the news, right? So of course you want to be aware of what's happening, take the necessary precautions, but you also don't want it to rule your life and completely absorb every single thought that you have. This could be a great escape and a great ability for you to be able to focus on something you've been wanting to do for a while. And I'm talking to a lot of you guys that are maybe brand new, but this even goes with people that have been on it forever. Like, hey, Shelly, how are you? Kimberly, I know you guys have been on YouTube for a long time. So right now, it could be a wonderful time for you to really dive in, focus 100% on what you're doing right now, which is creating content and serving your people who in this moment might also be feeling the same way you do and wanting to look at YouTube as a way to escape, as a way to maybe not think about what's going on right now. So for those of you that are thinking like, do I start a channel right now? Do I start? And I think Tifa says, is it too late to start creating quarantine related content? I will answer that in a second. But right now I'm starting about creating content in general and starting a channel. Right now could be that moment. You could actually be home and working from home and have a few extra hours in your day where you're not commuting, where you're not going into an office. You could actually have some extra time right now where you can dive into this project where you're thinking, why not? Right? It'll take my mind off of what's going on. I can't go out. Maybe there's something in your life that was canceled, whether it was unfortunately a wedding. I know people that were supposed to be getting married last week and they couldn't, or some kind of shower or trip or something you were going to be doing. And now you're home and now you're like, you know what? This has been on the back burner. I've been thinking about this for a while. And maybe it's not even starting a channel, but being actually more committed to your channel and being consistent with your channel. That's also another thing with YouTube. Is like, okay, I dabbled in it. I uploaded a few videos here and there, but what it really takes for YouTube is a level of commitment and a commitment to whatever schedule that is. So maybe it's a newfound commitment to your channel and saying, you know what, right now, I actually can upload twice a week versus once a week, or I can actually consistently upload every single week as opposed to whenever I felt like it or got around to it. So now could be that time to do it. And you can look at this as an opportunity for you to get your mind off of things, have fun, explore something that maybe you've been thinking about, and be there for your existing audience or for the audience that needs you. All right. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. So I started with saying my philosophy when it comes to creating content has to do with being aligned and a level of self-awareness. If that self-awareness is you feel like, you know what, I can't right now. I can't. I had a question in my Facebook group. I forget the lady's name who asked it. And she said, right now, I'm home from work. My husband's home from work. My kids are home. My parents are home. I literally do not have space for myself to film. And if that's your situation right now, if starting a YouTube channel or creating content is causing more stress, then this might be a good time for you to study. This might be a good time for you to work on things internally and to actually maybe come up with a game plan, right? Come up with video ideas, study the creators that you admire, think good about it. If you're in my bootcamp, I saw somebody today who was a student last year. She's going back through all the materials because you get lifetime access. Go through those materials in the bootcamp. Go through all of these amazing videos and resources that are here on YouTube and take the time to study. So if right now filming and you getting in front of a camera just doesn't seem like your jam and you're like, I don't feel like it, I have too much going on. Like for some people, they are less busy. For others, they're more. I fall into camp of being more because my husband's home, my kids are home, not at school. My mom, who usually helps, is not here. And so I'm actually more busy. And you have to do what works in your own life, because otherwise you're going to be creating content in a place out of anxiety and a place out of stress, and you will never bring your best self to camera. And if you're not bringing your best self to camera, then you do not want to be filming, because every time you hit record, you want to be on your A game. You want to be bringing your best light and your best self, because that is what your people and your audience deserve from you. So it's going back to having this level of self-awareness. Am I in a place mentally where I feel like I can get in front of the camera? And for some of you are saying, hey, you know what? I can. I actually feel like right now I'm even more motivated. I see Jacqueline said that, and she's one of my boot campers. The quarantine has pushed her to take her commitment to another level. And I know she is on YouTube every single day live creating content. That's her situation, right? And so it's having a level of self-awareness, and whatever that is going in on that. So if you in the back of your mind and you in your heart of hearts is feeling, I am meant to be on YouTube, I want to be on YouTube, but I really realistically cannot film, then use this time to sharpen your tools and in another aspect. Create an amazing content calendar. Go through every single video that you're wanting to create. Conceptualize your thumbnail, conceptualize your title, do that research, practice what you're going to say, and have a whole idea of 10 videos that you've completely planned out, and you're in the back of your head, you know exactly what you're going to say, so that when it comes time to film, you've almost been rehearsing those videos in your mind for the last month or whatever, and now you're able to bang them out really quickly, right? Maybe you can create those thumbnails. Maybe you can always create the title. Maybe you can place card it on your channel already, so that when it's time to film, boom, you're ready to upload. So I don't want to use this whole situation as an excuse to hold you back. So if realistically speaking, you can't film right now, use this time to study, use this time to prepare, and use this time to plan. If on the other hand, if you're saying, you know what, I can film right now, I have more time, I just don't know what to film, well, we'll talk about that, okay? We're going to get into that. And hello, so many amazing people on here. Monique, Beauty by the Bee, you're one of my boot campers. Morgan, Lollipops and Lipsticks, Girls Guide to the Drugstore. Welcome, all of you. So glad to see all of you guys here right now. And so I'm going to get a glass of water. And yes, right now, I am filming in my bedroom. Not my usual filming space, which is in my office, because my husband has taken over my office, and it does not look like my beautiful filming area anymore. It looks like a messy man's office. So I'm not in there. I'm in my bedroom. And you know what? I'm making this work for me, and I'm making it work for you, because I'm still bringing you value. My lighting is still good and my sound is still good. So that's one thing to consider. If you say, well, no, I can film, but I can't film in my usual spot. So two things you want to think about that are the most important when it comes to filming content is the lighting and your sound. So as long as those two things are good and you can get a quiet place to film, you don't have like your kids screaming in the background or something like that, those two things are good, then you can get pretty flexible. And I can go into this even deeper, but people think like, oh, things have to be perfect. Those are the two fundamental things that do need to, in essence, I don't want to say be perfect, but do need to be on point for you to be creating videos on YouTube. So your sound and your lighting. And honestly, you can take your iPhone, and if you've got good lighting and your iPhone actually has a pretty decent microphone on there, if that's all you have, you can get started right there and do some cool things in post-production. Jazz it up with some editing, with some music, with some B-roll. whatever it is. So when it comes to the technology, because that was another question that somebody had, is like, well, I don't really have the technology. Like, you might not even be going to the stores or being able to order things from Amazon. I know right now it's taking a long time to get things from Amazon. And you're like, well, you know what? You're going to use what you have. But those are the two fundamental things, is your sound and your lighting. So if you're not sure about your sound, just do kind of some tests and say, does it sound okay? Does it, if you have an extra microphone or something like that, or a lavalier mic, even better. So those are the two fundamental things. And Jacqueline says, how do you have your logo on the top of your screen and the link on the bottom left? It's actually a software I use called Ecamm. So Ecamm, and I don't think I have the link here, but the link is on all my other videos, and it's basically an online software. That's where I actually do all my, and people ask me this all the time. It's where I do all my podcast interviews on. It's Ecamm Live, and it's a separate software. So I go live into Ecamm, and it's hooked up to my YouTube channel, and I'm able to add these overlays. Okay, so Monique says you're hoping for some more suggestions. Well, I'm going to dive into some more suggestions. So if you're saying, well, you know what? If I do feel like filming and I feel like my energy is there, I feel like my my excitement is there to create content. Well, so now what can you create, right? So somebody asked earlier, can you be creating quarantine related content? 100%. You can be creating quarantine related content. And if you're saying you have a very interesting perspective on things that are happening right now, things that you want to bring to the table, that you want to teach, that you want to share, 100%. It's not too late at all, because we are all in the middle of this whole quarantine. So people are uploading quarantine related content all day long. Or what they're doing is, if you already have an existing channel with an existing audience, with existing topic that you speak on, my suggestion is actually to continue in that topic. So if you're fashion, if you're beauty, because that's what people know you for, that's where people come to you for, that's where you have established your relationship with your viewers on, definitely continue creating that kind of content. But you can also add in elements of what's going on right now with quarantine, the fact that we're all staying home. So you can do it through this lens of being home, not leaving the house, not being able to go to the store, maybe having to do certain things at home that you were doing outside of the home, like certain services or certain types of experiences, right? So you can create your regular content that you're used to creating, but through that lens. And so that's definitely something to consider. And in the ebook, I put a whole bunch of video ideas in there. So if you're kind of stuck on video ideas, there's a lot of videos in there. And so then you can definitely address, say, what's going on in your life. And that's what I talk about in this ebook. So I'm going through it one by one. And so the first thing is, you do you. I kind of already talked about that. If you don't feel like creating content right now, it's okay. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It just means you need to take a moment for yourself. So we're going to move on from that. And the second part is be a light. Okay. So be a light for your people. Being an influencer on YouTube, right? You're all here. You're all taking the time out of your life, and which I feel incredibly humbled and honored by. You're taking an hour out of your day to sit here and to better yourself and to learn about how to make better content, to learn about how to be better on camera, to learn about basically how to get views and subscribers on YouTube, right? You're taking time in your day to absorb this material so that you can actually do better on YouTube. And you're doing that because you are committed to, or making a commitment to, being an influencer on YouTube. Even if you have a business that you're looking to expand your personal brand, being on YouTube, you have an audience, right? And you are essentially an influencer to a group of people, your community of people. And this is one thing that you want to think about. You don't want to think about yourself as a content creator, as a YouTuber. You want to think about yourself as a community builder. And you are the leader of that community. And your community is looking to you to know how to think or to feel or what they should be feeling or to validate how they're feeling, or they're looking at you as an example. They're looking at you as a light. So if you're somebody that's going to be coming on to YouTube or you're on YouTube, that is essentially your responsibility. Is you're a leader of this community that you're building, that you're going to build, and that you have built. And so that's why I go back to what I originally said, is that you need to have some self-awareness. If you're not feeling like you can be present or be truly authentically yourself or to just be there for others on camera, then maybe it's the time to take a little break and come on and film when you can. And if you do feel like it, or maybe if you're just not sure, a lot of times action breeds clarity. So if you're just not sure, you're like, I don't know if I feel like it, but you know what? I'm just going to do it. Then get on to YouTube and just start filming. And you might also then get that excitement and that enthusiasm just through the act of doing it. But it really comes down with you being on YouTube, ultimately comes down to you being a community builder and you being a leader of that community. And Andrew says, should I start a YouTube channel? Andrew is an amazing part of the community here at Zero to Influence in my bootcamp. He's a great content creator, and he works with TubeBuddy, who is a wonderful resource. And thank you for being here, Andrew. And should you start a YouTube channel? Of course, you should start a YouTube channel, like I said earlier. And I can actually dig into that even more, but we talked about that at the top of the hour. And Kay, I'm so glad that you enjoyed the ebooks. That's where you struggled. No one's commenting. Okay, so that's the thing. It's like you got to show up and you have to be that light. And in regards to what you know and your knowledge is bringing that to the table. And so that is the first step, is be a light and really think about yourself as I'm just going to show up and I'm going to be a light. I'm going to be a distraction for my audience. I'm going to be serving them in some way, shape, or form. I am going to be educating them, like Kimberly, who's on here, has an incredible new series on her channel where she's educating people about businesses that are not treating women right. And she's diving into that and making that part of her channel. And women are truly resonating with that. And so it's like, what are you doing? What are you serving? And what is that mission? And okay, so the next point in the ebook, and I'm just kind of going to go through the points in the ebook, is create. So if you're committed to being on YouTube and you say, I'm going to give it a go, I don't care, I'm going to make this happen. My background might be a mess. I might not have my usual shooting location, but I'm able to get some light in front of me and I'm able to get like a decently, good microphone. Then just create. Get onto YouTube right now and create. Because here's the thing too, is that people are going to remember you in this moment when you're there for them and you're going to be creating content for them, because a lot of people are home right now and they are consuming content, and a lot of people do want break from the news. I know I do. I mean, I'm the kind of person that I can get absorbed in the news and I can, I can go down rabbit holes. I don't want to. And then I'm like, I'm just going to switch to like, a lovely fashion video or beauty video or something to get my mind off of it. And I really do appreciate the people that are there that are continuing to create content. And you can really stake your claim and establish yourself as a new content creator by just coming onto the scene and being 100% authentically yourself. I was interviewed, and this is a little bit going off on what I was originally going to talk about, but I was interviewed this morning and I was asked a question, what is the best piece of advice that you have received? And I'm actually going to share it with you right now because I think it's really, really pertinent. Is you want to be aware of what other people are doing in the sense of, that looks like something I can do, but better. Oh, that's a great idea, but I'm going to put my own spin on it. But you don't want to be consumed with what other people are doing. You want to be doing you, and you want to be fully focused on what you have to offer and and your intuition. So the people on YouTube that come onto YouTube and are doing really incredible, amazing things and that are blowing up, they're innovators. They're visionaries. They're creating really cool, unique content. And a lot of times that comes from you being really aligned with yourself and your purpose. Like in my bootcamp, we spent an entire month on this. Being aligned with your mission, the mission for you being on YouTube, the mission for building a community, and being truly aligned with that. Not giving a crap of what anybody else is doing in your niche or outside of your niche and just going for it. For me, when I started doing that, that's for me when I started my boot camp, because I always thought, you know what, I need to be somebody that's, on there on YouTube every single day and doing all these things and being here and having this huge email list and doing all these Facebook ads. Like I see a million Facebook ads. I don't do Facebook ads. And you know what? I'm like, when I threw all that out the window and I was like, but I know I have something special to give. I know I am able to help people in a way that nobody else is doing. And I zeroed in on that and I focused on that. That's when things started to change for me. And I know for other creators that I've worked with, the people that are just tune out the noise, because that's the thing. In this day and age, there is so much noise, right? There is so much out there. There is so much content. You're probably getting a million different emails and it's like, you're like, oh my God. It's like, oh, brain, your brain is fried with it. And I think now more than ever, it's a time for self-reflection and a time for being quiet and internalizing and meditating. I need to be better at this too. And really taking some time for yourself, because when you can tune out the noise and touch into your intuition and that special part of yourself that's inside of you that is shouting like, get onto YouTube. I want to be on YouTube. For all of you here, you have a tug at you that's tugging at you to creating content and be on YouTube, right? You need to tune into that and listen to that, because that's eventually is what's going to bring magic on camera. So for, you being on camera and bringing your best self to camera, listening to that intuition is truly going to, help you bring magic to screen and also allow you to come up with ideas that maybe other people haven't done before, or ideas that you can put your own unique spin on. And so that's, when I say creating and action breeds clarity, and just being in the action of doing and maybe tuning out the world around you and just creating and serving your audience will help you bring clarity on what you should create, or really how you can create that and deepen that connection to your audience. So, and here are a few examples that I had in the ebook, but, map out your content for the next couple months, right? Like now is the time to study. Now is the time to, and I'm a big believer in, conceptualizing your thumbnails and your titles ahead of time. Like when you are thinking about your video ideas, you want to conceptualize what that thumbnail and what that title is going to be even before you begin filming. That's an important tip for you. And also here's another thing. If you are a small channel, even honestly, if you're a bigger channel, like my bootcamper here, Kimberlea, who has a niche, but do you know what? She was feeling really inspired to talk about something else. Don't feel the need to be confined to your niche in the moment. So I started by saying, like, if you have a niche, and people ask, well, I want to continue creating videos on my niche. I want to continue creating beauty videos. I'm called to do that. My audience expects that from me. Then yeah, keep on creating those beauty videos. Keep on creating those videos about fashion or about fitness or whatever it is that your expertise is and that your audience wants, if that's what you're called to do. But if there's something inside you saying, but do you know what? I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about maybe how I'm handling this whole crisis, or maybe I actually work in the front lines. I work in a grocery store. I work in the medical industry, and I want to show what's happening right now. I want to show people what's going on, and I'm really called to do that. Then 100% do that. Don't feel confined to your own niche, right? But it's okay if you want to create in your own niche. But if you feel inspired to talk about other things, and maybe being home has allowed you to explore other hobbies or maybe other ideas that are on your mind, feel free to explore them on your YouTube channel. That's the great thing about YouTube, is that you can experiment. If a video tanks, you don't like it, move on to the next one, right? Or delete it. So don't feel like you have to be confined. And if there's something that's calling you, or you get inspiration to talk about what you want to talk about, or even explore different topics. So that's the one thing too, the advice that I give to a lot of my boot campers, because we have a pretty intense first 4 weeks of the boot campers. And a lot of you guys here on this call are part of that right now in the first couple of weeks, where you dive into, and this is called the audience attraction system. You're diving into why you're doing what you're doing. You're thinking about what your niche is. You're thinking about who your audience is, right? And when it comes to a niche, a lot of you have a lot of different ideas, a lot of different things that you want to talk about. What I say is just start experimenting. Okay. So start experimenting by, if you have 2 or 3 different niches, then start experimenting and creating videos on one niche and then creating videos on another niche, and maybe do it like one every other until you really feel like, oh, do you know what? People seem to be really resonating with this topic. I'm just going to go deeper in this topic, or I'm really going to kind of keep on figuring out where I'm going to eventually land on. Your goal ultimately is to come up with some kind of niche. And I could talk a little bit about that too. However, you want to essentially try different things to see what lights you up. You might create content on a niche that you thought you were going to love, and you're like, ugh, I just did 10 videos on that and I am over it. It is not sustainable. It's not something that I want to keep on doing. I just don't want to do it, and I'm going to quit YouTube. You don't want to quit YouTube over that. You might need to just pivot, and you might need to change your niche. So, I have one of my boot campers. I don't think she's on here live, but, she started off by doing, her name is Jen, and she has a great channel. And she started off by doing videos on she was reviewing workout classes in New York. Right? And she was going to those workout classes. And eventually she was like, I love doing this. I was reviewing these workout classes, but it's not sustainable for me to go and do that. I work full time. So now she's pivoted, and she's actually gotten some really great videos out there that are getting thousands of views, and she's getting excited about it. And she's like, I'm pivoting. That's not sustainable. It's not going to work. So a lot of things is, it's like, don't feel like you're confined. You're like, oh my God, I'm confined in this niche. This is what I started. I can't change. This is your channel. You can do what you want, right? And, but if you have an established audience and you're loving your niche and you're loving, like, hey, I'm talking about beauty over 40 and I'm loving it, that's what I want to do, then keep on doing. Don't feel like you have to now pivot and create a video on how to create hand sanitizer. You don't have to do that. So it's like, do what you're called to do. I would recommend doing, and I say this in the ebook, I would recommend, especially if you have a decently following of at least 5,000, 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, I would do a video sharing with your audience how you're coping with and handling what's going on right now in your life, how it's personally affecting you, because your followers would like to know, sorry, I had to move that in there, would want to know how you're handling this, because it makes you more relatable, and it really deepens that connection as a leader of your community. So I would definitely do a video on how, what's going on right now. My new, sorry, you're going to see my leg. I'm on my bed. So my legs all of a sudden started falling asleep, messy action, just do it. Right. And so you can, what was I saying? So now I lost my train of thought. Creating a video about what's happening with you right now will deepen that connection with the viewers and the audience that is already really connected to you. So the people that tune into you week after week, it will be nice for them to hear from you. So I would 100% acknowledge what's going on, because so people know, people say, oh, wow, she's dealing with it the same way I am. And use your audience and say, hey, what would you like? I have a private client who has a very large following on YouTube, and she did a community post and asking people, what do you want to see from me? Do you want to see my regular fashion videos, or do you not? And she had different, she had thousands of responses, and people said, hey, I want to see your regular, oh, Jen, you are on here live. I just got done talking about you. But she said, people want to see her business as usual, her normal content. So definitely connect with people. This is a great time to connect with them, because everyone's going through this right now. Not just you, not just your family, not just your neighbors. Everybody is going through this. So I would definitely create a video about touching on that and talking about it, but then move on. Maybe continue creating content just as you usually do. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go back into the workbook, unless anyone has any other specific questions. Okay, I talked about this. Connect on a deeper level. The other thing too is going live on YouTube is a really great thing to do right now. It's a lot of people are home. A lot of times, usually on this time at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time in LA, people might be driving and now they're home. I know for me, I'm home a lot more. So I do think going live on a YouTube is a good opportunity to connect with people. It's also a great opportunity to up your watch hours if you're not yet monetized. So you can kind of bump up those watch hours, because when you're live on YouTube, the watch time is much longer. People are more likely to stay on watching a 30, 40 minute, hour long live. So it's a really great way to connect with people. So if you're thinking about, maybe you do a get ready with me, or maybe you do some kind of craft, or maybe you're going to put together, something, some craft or whatever you're going to do, unboxing, you can do it live with people. People are home right now. People are actually paying attention to these things. And it's a great way for you to connect with your people. And so we're talking a lot about connecting with people, right? And connecting with your existing audience. So would you consider Zoom? Well, Zoom isn't on YouTube. So it's like I'm solely right now talking about things you can do to grow your YouTube channel. But if you're looking at your community in general, well, I do Zoom calls, as you know. Well, you're a new boot camper, but I do Zoom calls with my boot campers. And that's where we do our live calls in the boot camp, where I review their channels, I review their links, I go into their thumbnails, do all that stuff. But I would say YouTube is great. If you're wanting to build up your presence online, go on YouTube, because also it's there always for people to always go back to, right? Unless like something weird happened, you can always delete it or private it later. I think going live could seem scary, but what I would do is I would have a mission, or like a point behind it. So if you say, don't just show up live, but you could do some kind of live where, like I said, you're actually doing something, like you're getting ready, you're going to do a tutorial, you're showing something, maybe you're going to do some kind of haul or unboxing or whatever it is. Have some kind of something that you're actually going to do, and then go from there. And then Tifa and Morgan say, well, your main issue is figuring out your niche. I gave a lot of little tidbits earlier on figuring out your niche, and that seems to be a big issue for a lot of people. That's part of the reason why I created the bootcamp, because so we can really dive into some of those things, because I have a whole niche guide and workbook. We spent a whole week on it. But I would say, it's a lot of it's experimentation, and don't be afraid. Messy action. Don't be afraid to just film videos and upload them, or even film them and not upload them. Just practicing doing things. But I would say filming them and uploading is great, because you're getting a feedback loop from your audience, a feedback loop from YouTube. And here's something that is encouraging for those of you that maybe are brand new or have a smaller audience and are listening to this and thinking, well, I don't have much of an audience. I don't get a lot of comments. Like, what if I go live and nobody's on there? Well, here's the thing. Every YouTube video, and I'm not talking about lives here, but I'm talking about every YouTube video has an opportunity and a chance to be seen. YouTube will push your video out to people who it thinks might be interested in that topic that you're speaking on. There's a lot of data points that YouTube looks at, and I'm really simplifying it here right now, but YouTube looks like a ton of different data points, right? But one thing that it looks like is the content that you're uploading, and your tags and your description and your title. And basically that's information that you're telling YouTube what your video is about. And YouTube will push out your video. So even if you don't have an audience, it will push out your video. And if your video is getting clicked on and it's being watched, then it's going to continue to push it out to more people and then push it out to more people. So that's what's incredible about YouTube, is that it's an amazing feedback loop, that if you've been uploading day in and day out and you're not getting views and you're not growing in subscribers, that's a feedback loop telling you, first off, it's incredible that you're committed. I mean, that's huge. And for a lot of people, they're not even at that step. But secondly, that's telling you that you might need to be changing and pivoting, because for some reason you're not connecting with people. And maybe it's it's you on camera. And that's why I always go back to having a sense of self-awareness, knowing yourself and being in your best light to camera, because everybody, and this is why I do what I do, every single person has something really special about themselves, especially everybody does. And for those of you that are here watching this, you want to bring that something special and share it with the world, right? Not everybody wants to be on YouTube. People want to reserve that something special with their own friends and family. We're all unique here in that we want to share that something special with the world, but you've got to be able to tap into it and bring it to camera, right? And that's actually what I call, and if you haven't done my free masterclass yet, I dive deep into this. I call OCET, on camera energy transfer, because the more you're aligned with who you are and your passions and your mission statement for being onto YouTube, the more that energy transfer will come on when you hit record. And so where was I going with that? So if you're not getting the views that you want and you're not getting the engagement you want, you really want to look at a few different things. First off is like, how are you showing up the film? And are you resonating with people? Are you anticipating what people want? Are you anticipating what people might need? And are you maybe piquing people's curiosities, right? Are you creating creating content that people actually want to watch? And then the other thing is what I like to call the clickable effect. So the clickable effect, and I think I'm going to do a whole nother live on this, but the clickable effect, essentially speaking, is how clickable are your thumbnails and are your titles. This is part 3 of my bootcamp of my 0 to Influence system, the clickable effect. And that's a huge component. 50% of the success of your YouTube channel has to do with how clickable your thumbnails and titles are. So for a lot of you, you're actually creating decent content, but nobody's clicking on your videos because you don't have that clickable effect. So you really want to think about how you can create a thumbnail and a title that's going to grab a person's attention. Here's something to think about. What can you do on your thumbnail and your title that will get somebody who is scrolling YouTube on their phone or on their desktop to stop everything they're doing in that moment and boom, click on your video, right? A kind of like, standard like Q&A from Erika. No one cares, right? No one cares about that. Or it's like my morning routine. It's like, no one cares about that. But if you can twist it, and not twist it, but if you can present it in a way that is bringing out a hook and also the true value that your video is giving, the advice that your video is giving, and you present that in your thumbnail and your title, that's a way for it to be clickable. So, yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? Let me see if there's anything else here there's a lot that I covered. And let's see, the on-camera presence is harder when you are confident, but still. So Monique says the on-camera presence is harder to gauge when you're self-aware and confident, but you still don't get any engagement. So that's a great point, Monique. So if you're not getting engagement, then it could be the clickable effect. It could be that your thumbnails and titles are not getting people to click. So it's like, and also if you're not getting that many views, it's like the more views you get, the more likely you are to get comments. So content that gets people to comment is content that's really engaging, that gets people to think, that gets people exposed to new or different concepts or ideas, or people really feel really aligned with you. And so I would say really think about how you are creating content in a way that's actually serving people. Like, are you able to do it in a way that's getting people to want to click on you? Okay. And it's hard for me to say specifically about your specific channel because I can't watch it. But I would say reevaluate your thumbnails and your titles. Take a look at some of your analytics. If your click-through rate is pretty low, that means people aren't clicking on it. So if your click-through rate is 2%, 3%, 4%, I would say you need to do something about your thumbnails and titles. If your view duration, meaning the percentage on average that people are watching your videos, is on the lower side, like 10%, 20%, 30%, it means your content isn't engaging enough. And it could be you, and meaning that you're not bringing your best self to camera. But if you truly think you are bringing your best self to camera, maybe then reevaluate your content and look at it like, well, how can I bring dimension to my content? Maybe you're adding some B-roll. Maybe you're adding some music. Maybe you're adding different camera angles or things that add a little bit more engagement. So there's a few different metrics that you can look at to try and determine whether or not, what exactly you should be doing and the steps you should be doing moving forward. And so you could look internally and say, okay, my click-through rate is kind of low. I got to get that up. Or my view duration is low. Or if your view duration is not at least 50 or 60% and it's hovering around 10 or 20% per video, that means on average, if you have a 10-minute video, people are only watching 10 minutes, 1 minute of that video or 2 minutes of that video. So there's a reason why people are not engaged enough to watch at least half of the video. So you want to really reevaluate your content itself. Okay, so I think that's a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about. One thing I want to remind you guys is that, the focus on this live is really about, what you should be doing right now during quarantine. And I would say it's lemonade time, right? We've all been not handed a lemon, but I think we've literally been assaulted with lemons right now in our lives in whatever way it is. Maybe it's financially, maybe it's with your health, maybe it's with employment, maybe it's with just, things in your life just not going the way they are. We have been assaulted with lemons. Now we got to take those lemons and we got to turn it into lemonade. And I can guarantee you there are going to be people that are going to be coming out of this that are going to be bigger and better on the other side of it. Why? Is because they were focusing on something. They were focusing on what it is that they wanted to do in their life. So for you, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I really want to be on YouTube. You're here, you're listening to this, maybe you're listening to the podcast right now and you're thinking, oh my God, I want to be on YouTube right now. So focus on that. Tune out the noise, focus internally and just serve an audience. Just come up with content and just create. Turn that lemon into lemonade. Okay? This is the time to do that. Don't let what's happening right now stop you. You're on this call for a reason. You're listening to this for a reason. Do not let this whole thing stop you and paralyze you. If your videos aren't perfect and you're not in that normal scene of where you normally film, or maybe your house is a little bit messy, you've got stuff in the background. Remember the two things I talked about. If people can hear you and they can at least see you, then you're good. Create content, messy action, and don't let what's happening right now stop you, because what's actually happening right now could be working in your favor. Turn lemons into lemonade. And at the end of this, 6 months from now, a year from now, you'll be glad that you honed in on your channel, that you became consistent, that you made a commitment to your channel, or you even started your channel. Or like in the case of Kimberly or Jen, that you pivoted and you switched your content and you're now building a whole new audience on YouTube. You're going to be glad 6 months from now that you took that leap of faith and that you did it. Okay? So that's it. So I wanted to leave you with that level of encouragement. If you're watching this on the replay, comment below. If you have any other questions, leave them for me in the comments, because I think what I'm going to do is going to be going live on YouTube at least once a month. Possibly gonna try, and just leave those comments here. If you're in the bootcamp, just go into the Facebook and leave any of your questions for me there, and I'll dive in my bootcampers. And I think that's it. And don't forget to subscribe here if you've never been here on my channel. Like this video because it helps the algorithm. Comment on this video because it helps the algorithm. And thank you so much for being here. And I will see you next time. Bye.